Head over to miniaturemarket.com where they have thousands of board games at discounted prices, and you can sign up for product alerts. Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. It's that time of year where I'm constantly asked by friends, family, colleagues about which games to get for the holidays. Now today I'm launching a series of 3 different videos. This one is about casual gamers, or ones that you would bring to sort of family gatherings and just get together a lot of people and play them. So these are lighter games. I've also produced today a video for games under $20 and one for gamer enthusiasts. Now the links for those are below. If you want to click those, you can see those other videos. Now all the games that I cover today, I also have links below for the full review. So if you want to learn more about them, you can do that. So let's get started. The first one is a party game called Wits and Wagers. Now I think the version that's out these days is called It's Vegas Baby, but the regular version's fine too if you can find that. This is a fun trivia game because they're questions that are always numerical answers and nobody should know the answer. And it's not about knowing the answer, it's about seeing who's the closest without going over, kind of like the Price is Right game show on TV. Because they're going to ask a question like, how many bathrooms are in the White House? And players will secretly write down a number, and then once everyone's done it, they'll flip it face up, and you'll put them in ranking order from lowest to highest. Then everyone bids with these chips as to which one they think is the closest without going over. And so what happens is like the ones that are in the median or towards the middle, they're the less risky, so you'll make less points if you get that. But if you bid on one of the ones that's way out on the top or the bottom, well, they're more risky and less likely to be right. So if you get those, you'll get more. And as you get points and chips, you can bid those on future rounds. The game's just 7 questions long. It takes about 20 minutes, and it's just a ton of fun. It's probably the best trivia game out there because you don't have to know anything about it. You just have to know who you think is closest. That is Wits and Wagers. Now the next one is another party game. Now I'm doing this from sort of the lightest games to the heavier games. So there's going to be a bunch of party games on the front end of this. This one is called Time's Up. This is one of my favorite party games. There's 2 different versions. There's the regular Time's Up, then there's Title Recall, which is about song names. I like the regular one best. That's about like people. So for example, somebody might have a card that says Captain Hook. Well, you're trying to get your teammates to guess Captain Hook. But in the first round, you can pretty much do anything except say like rhymes what their sounds like. And you got to go through all these cards. But then once all the cards are gone, using the same cards and the same people, you're going to go through all the same cards again. Team versus team. You're trying to get your teams to answer it. But the second round through, you can only say one word. And then the third time through, again, the same cards, you can't say any word. You're just acting it out. And it's interesting because the restrictions become more, but you become more and more familiar with the cards. So you have this Captain Hook, this like reference from way back before that is made silently, and you can get it. And it's just, you've got to trust me on this one. This one always goes over huge, and it can be played with humongous groups too. with just 2 big teams. It's a blast. Time's Up. The next one is called Just One, and this is the last sort of traditional party game on the list. This one's actually quite relatively new. It came out in the last couple of years. This is one of the better party games that have come out in the last 5 years. In Just One, it's a cooperative game where you basically have just one word that you're going to give as a clue to somebody. There's going to be something like pump. Maybe they want to figure out the word pump. They don't know that word. Everybody else is writing a one-word clue to try to get them to say pump. However, you're trying to be creative because if you're not creative enough and you match anyone else's answer, those will get erased before the player who's trying to guess opens their eyes. So they'll never get to see those clues. So you're trying to get them to say the word, but you're trying to be somewhat creative and not too obvious. Otherwise, they're going to get less clues. It's a brilliant, simple, easy game, a fun cooperative party game, Just One. The next one is sort of a social deduction game. Plays 4 to many players. And in this game, one player is a murderer. And sometimes, depending on player count, they'll be an accomplice. Everyone else is trying to figure out who the murderer is and how did they do it. One player actually knows the answer, but they also know who the murderer is. And they're trying through silent clues to get everyone else to guess who the murderer is and what did they do. For example, they might be Candy's evidence and they did it with a scarf. And so they would point to these things while everyone's eyes are closed, And once everyone's eyes open, the person that knows is given these silent clues based upon different tiles that have different things on it, like motives and scenes and things like that. And they're trying to use these clues without talking to get other people to guess not only who the murderer is, but what were the two cards that they were pointing at the beginning of the game. This game is just fantastic. It's one of my favorite social deduction games because you don't have to lie. You can just say what's obvious, like, oh yeah, the candy in the scarf's obvious because it's this. You don't have to go off on tangents and blatantly lie to people. And I like that because it gives a sense of trying to figure out who's who without having to lie. Deception, Murder in Hong Kong. The next one is called For Sale. Now this is a sort of an interesting card game where it has two halves. The first half, you're going to be bidding in an auction style round robin to try to buy these different houses. And it's cool artwork where it's like an outhouse is the small number all the way up to like a space station is like the best one. And you're trying to bid for these cards. In the second half, you're going to be simultaneously playing those cards to try to sell them for different check money amounts that are out on the board. So it's really fun. You're trying to buy low and sell high. The bidding is good in the first half, and the simultaneous play in the second half makes some really creative things as to, ooh, what should I do here? And it might not sound just by looking at this like it's a great game, but I promise you, it's 3 to 6 players. It plays really well. For Sale from Eagle Gryphon Games. The next one is one of those games that really attracts attention to the table called Drop It from Thames and Cosmos. Here's a 1-minute overview of how this game works. Drop It is a dexterity game for 2 to 4 players in which players will have different colored geometric shapes that they'll be dropping into a big contraption to get points. Over the course of the game, players are going to be dropping pieces into here trying to score points. The higher the game gets, the more points there'll be. Players will be dropping different shapes and getting points of the line that they're above, like 7 if you get the points. But watch out, because if you drop a piece that touches either the same color of yours or the same shape of any color, you get 0 points. But you also have to be careful because some of the edges, if you have certain shapes touching those, you get 0 points. And once all the shapes have been played from everyone, whoever has the most points is the winner. Yeah, this game is one where you pull out, everyone will kind of look at it and go, oh, that's really interesting. And then they're just like, oh, it's like Plinko from The Price is Right. You just drop things. This must not be very fun. But once they realize that there's actual strategy to it, it's like, oh, I could drop this, but I can't touch the same color, I can't touch the same shape, and there's things around the bottom and the sides that I can't touch as well. And there actually is some strategy to the game, even though a lot of it is sort of dropping things in a dexterity format to try to win. And as the game goes up, on and on, the points become more and more, has a great arc to it. It's one of those games that you'll always play more than once. It takes about 15 to 20 minutes, and it is a blast. You can also play it with teams as well, I've done it, and this is Drop It. The next one is a very interesting sort of auction game. It's sort of like bingo for gamers. This is called Game of 49. Here's a 1-minute overview of how this game works. The Game of 49 is for 2 to 5 players, where you'll be participating in auctions and trying to win spaces on the board to get 4 in a row of your color. This can happen horizontally, vertically, or diagonally. Each round a card is turned up and everyone's bidding on this spot. The last person standing, the highest bidder, will win that spot and place their chip there. Other cards are wild and allow you to go into any unoccupied range of numbers on the board. Even better, there's a payoff with these wild cards, and the more chips you have on the board, the more money you'll make. So it's like an economic game in disguise. And it wouldn't be the Game of 49 if the 49 spot wasn't important, because the person that wins there gets the best spot on the board. If they win it again, they can go anywhere they like, but it's also the only spot that you can get bumped off. Do you have what it takes to manage your cash and win enough auctions to get 4 in a row in this family level auction game that's full of excitement? There's only one way to find out. The simplicity of this game is why it's so brilliant. You're literally just auctioning with money. You start with $49 and you're auctioning to win spots on like a bingo board. But the trick is when those wild cards come up, that statistically should come up about every 5 cards, everyone gets $7 for every chip on the board. And it's like a financial business game in disguise, where it's so simple. We're just auctioning off things, but you have to manage your money well. You're playing the odds, you're playing statistics, you're figuring out which ones do I really need to win, which ones can I let go, which ones do I want to bid up and make them pay more than they really want to, even though I don't want it. It is just such a simple, brilliant game that, again, you'll play it once and you'll immediately play it again because it's that much fun, and that is the Game of 49. The next one is a 2-player only card game called Mandala. This one came out last year. It's pretty recent. Here's a 1-minute overview of how this game works. Mandala is a beautiful 2-player card game that plays in 30 minutes where there's 6 different types of cards that you're going to be playing, trying to score them. The game comes with this beautiful linen playmat which helps with gameplay and for scoring. Over the course of the game, you'll be collecting certain sets of colors, and each of those cards that you score for the rest of the game will be worth a certain amount of points. For example, all the purples in my score stack at the end are going to be worth 6 points. The game has 2 different mountains. Think of them as 2 mini games that are going on at the same time, and you can play to either of these. On your turn, you're either playing a card to the center, which are the cards that will score this round, and then being able to draw up 3 cards. Or players are playing multiple cards on their side, trying to have the most influence to have the first choice of the scoring cards for that round. But each color can only be played once on the entire mountain, on our side, their side, or in the scoring center. Once the last of the 6 colors is played, it resolves. Whoever has the most cards on their side gets first choice of the scoring cards. And the cards we collect will tell us which ones will score how much at the end of the game. This is an instant classic for me. This is one that I'll be playing for 20 years from now. It is one of the best little 2-player card games I have in my entire collection. And it's so interesting that the cards have no numbers on them. It's so far to play a game where there's no numbers on the card, just little colors from the mandalas. But having 2 little mini games going on at once and trying to figure out how to get the colors that you want and how can you get the most of those. And the game has a very interesting arc because as you get new colors to score, they're gonna be worth more and more points. So it's like, do I try to go for something that I've already scored and try to get a bunch of them, maybe they're lower points, or do I try to push the envelope a little bit further, push it towards the end game? It is just such a beauty of a game, plus having some secret things at the start really plays into the strategy. It is an amazingly tactical game, one of the best 2-player card games out there, Mandala. The next one is a hugely popular abstract strategy game called Azul. Here's a 1-minute overview of how this game works. Azul is an abstract strategy game for 2 to 4 players where every player will have their own board that they're building these beautiful tiles on. On your turn, you'll either be drafting all the tiles from the same type from a factory, pushing the rest to the center, and adding those to your board, or you'll be taking all the tiles from the center of one type. At the end of the round, you'll be placing finished rows onto the board to build a beautiful mosaic. All additional tiles get removed from the game, and if you've gotten too many, you'll be getting minus points. And this continues until one player has finished a horizontal row, and you'll get bonuses for having 5 of the same tile, also for having horizontal rows completed, and for also having columns completed. There's also a variant where you can place tiles in any of the places as long as there's not more than one of the same tile type in the same column. Now this is one of those games that when it first came out, it had so much hype, I wasn't huge on it. However, there have been 2 other versions of Azul that I had liked better than this version, but lately I've played this one a lot more and it really has grown on me over 25 more plays. This is sort of one of those games where you can play 2 to 4 players, and it's just simple. You're drafting tiles, you're trying not to get stuck with too many tiles to get negative points, but you're also trying to find the right way, the right time to put those tiles on your board, knowing that you can plan where they're going a little bit further. So there's some tacticalness as to what am I doing right now, but there's also some long-term strategy. The game's pretty quick, 30 minutes long, definitely more thinky than a lot of the other games higher up on this list, but it's still, ones that you can find at mass market stores, of course on miniaturemarket.com, but this is an excellent abstract strategy game, Azul. And this last one is, in my opinion, the best modern day board game that has come out for casual gamers. Ticket to Ride. Let me show you a 1-minute overview of how this one works. You're going to be building railroad routes across the entire United States. At the beginning of the game, you're going to get these secret goals that no one else will know. So you know that you need to go from Seattle to Los Angeles and also Portland to Nashville. And you might be able to make a big train that goes from LA up to Seattle, through Portland, all the way over to Nashville and have one big long train at the end. And if you get these done at the end of the game, you'll get these points. But if you don't get them done, you'll get minus those points. So this is sort of the focus of the game. Turns are very simple. On your turn, you're either picking up cards, or you'll be playing cards. In this case, 3 pink cards for 3 pink route from city to city, in this case LA to San Francisco, as I'm starting to build my routes. And you'll be receiving points every time you place trains depending on the amount that you put down. And throughout the game, other players will be placing in certain spots. If I needed to go this way, well, I'm out of luck. Now I'm gonna have to get there in a different route or go around in different directions and change plans. Whoever's best and most efficiently able to get their routes done while navigating around all the other players will be the one to win Ticket to Ride. Yeah, this one is just, I've never not seen this one go over well. Every time I bring it to a new family or a new house and I play it, everyone's like, wow, this one's great. And sometimes I'll be at a house for a weekend or whatever, and we'll play 10 or 12 different games, and almost always everyone goes, Ticket to Ride was my favorite. It just has this elegance. It's like basically playing Rummy. If you've ever played Rummy card games where you're collecting sets of the same color and you're playing those sets down, but this is to play the sets, to place trades on the board, to have secret goals, to try to figure out where you're going, to try to block people, to try not to be blocked. It's hard to explain why it's so good, but it's just so fun. Drawing cards, making sets, trying to get to your route. There's a lot of tension involved. It's pretty simple to learn. You're either drawing cards or playing cards. Sometimes you might want to get some new routes. If you've finished all yours, there's that secret element as to where you're going that other players don't know. It's just an absolutely brilliant game. The best one on this list for sure, Ticket to Ride. Now, I hope you have enjoyed this and learned about some new games you can get for the holidays. Now, again, I've put 2 other videos up for this in this holiday spirit of games under $20 and games for gamer enthusiasts. Those links are below, along with all the reviews of all the games I covered. This has been the Game Boy Geek, breaking down barriers, growing relationships through board games by helping you find the next one you'll love. Lucky Duck Games has 4 new games available now. In the Court of Miracles, you lead a guild of beggars, scheme with sinister plots, and use trickery to build your own renown in an attempt to take over 16th century Paris. Baron Voodoo is an abstract strategy game involving the collection of thematic soul dice, and it made my top 10 most anticipated releases at Essen Spiel this year. Kingdom Rush Rift in Time is a tower defense with epic heroes that includes a campaign and an infinite replayability mode. It was hugely popular on Kickstarter, raising over $1 million. Chronicles of Crime 1400 is a standalone follow-up to the award-winning Chronicles of Crime, where you'll be solving 4 unique crimes in medieval Paris. These are all available in stores now, and you can learn more and order them at luckyduckgames.com.